Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. If you have questions, well, this is the perfect time to do them in the comments because it's a mailbag answering any and all questions you guys have here as part of our live Dallas Cowboys Report show. Remember, once your questions answered, you kind of need to be subscribed. Our first question from King Shadow actually came in on last week's live show, but it came in afterwards, so I told him we put it on today's one. You know, another linebacker on this roster for me to feel safe. LVE has production questions, and Andrew Wilcox coming off a torn ACL, so I want another linebacker to feel safe. Or like Barr to feel safe, which I'm fine with. If Anthony Barr is cheap, I would be down to go out and try to acquire him to add him to the roster. I think he would be cheap. I think for Barr's standpoint here, and it always does take two to tango, of course, does he want to go to a destination where he may or may not be the starting linebacker? He might get beat out by LVE, given that Barr himself has had some injury problems in the past. So when it comes to Anthony Barr, I'll ask you guys a question right now. Would you sign Anthony Barr, assuming it is a relatively affordable contract? Get those answers in for me in the comments section right now. Type in Y for yes, you would go sign Anthony Barr, or type in N for no, you don't want him on your team. And a big thank you again to King Shadow for that super chat. From Roy Williams, the safety. Now that AB is gone, would it be a little bit more easier to beat Tampa? Plus, we have home field advantage. Look, the game was awesome and close last year. I think the Bucs could say, yeah, well, now you don't have Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson anymore, when you probably won't have Michael Gallup. So I think the Bucs are more beatable. I think the Cowboys are more beatable as well. Brandon Romero, how much money would you throw at Sean Payton for next year? Here's the good news, folks. There is no salary cap to get in the way of paying a coach. So if you really want Sean Payton, money literally is no object for Jerry and Stephen Jones. You can give them a blank check and say, go write a number, cash it, and we'll be fine. Joneses are certainly not cash poor. They'll be able to make a big offer if they want Sean and if Sean wants to come back to the NFL. From Roger Moore, will the Cowboys pursue Jace Tretter, or do you think they're happy with what they got? Kind of think the latter. The Cowboys, the past 2 years, haven't really brought in any competition for Tyler Biadasz. They let Connor Williams get last-second run at center, which was a disaster because, of course, it was. That was a terrible idea that didn't work out because it gave him no prep time. The last second, I try it, and of course it didn't work well. 7th-round pick in Matt Farniok and a couple undrafted free agents this year, they haven't shown interest in adding a center. I would love to add J.C. Tretter. Maybe they're worried about the medical. Maybe they don't like the NFLPA president stuff. But so far, pretty quiet on that front. From Davey Stanley, sign Drew Brees to start or be a backup. Okay. Couple things. Drew Brees is not coming back. Like I don't foresee Brees unretiring from the NFL and going, yeah, I'm going to come play, and coming off of my own shoulder surgery I had earlier this month, he's not going to be back before week 1. Like, it's just not going to happen. Frankly, wanting to play Drew Brees as a starter, not to be too much of an a-hole, Davey, that's nonsense. So reset the meter, Jeremy. It has been 0 days since our last nonsense here on the Dallas Cowboys Report. We had to reset the meter for that one. It's not going to happen. It's dumb. Brees expressed interest in his tweet, which I viewed as more of a joke than anything. And by the way, I know his numbers look fine down the stretch. Drew Brees was not playing at that level. Dak's a better quarterback than he is right now. All time, of course, it's Brees. Right, the second, it's clearly Prescott. And Brees is not going to unretire to be a backup. That's not a good decision for him whatsoever. Now, if you want the Cowboys to make their team better, which so far, I'm not sure the Cowboys have done this offseason, show it by liking this video right now. If you want the Cowboys to make the team better and be more aggressive in the offseason, let's show the Jones boys by liking it right now. From Bryce Purser, or is it? Yeah, it's Purser. What do you think about D-Law coaching up Sam Williams? I mean, I think it's smart. I think it was also Haley was working with Sam Williams too, by the way. Look, DeMarcus Lawrence is a very polished player in terms of his technique. He's a great mentor for players. I only see positive things coming from that standpoint. From Grace, let's trade for Travis Kelce. I mean, they gave up Hill. Why not Kelce? Do you want Travis? Like, in all seriousness, Travis Kelce is a better football player, unquestionably, than Dalton Schultz. No disrespect meant to Schultz there. Travis Kelce also turns 33 this year, which I know sounds weird, but that's pretty old for a tight end. He's going to be the same age as Gronk, which you would never expect with the timing of when they came in the NFL. I think the cost of Kelce versus what you'll have left to get him, since the Chiefs are contenders, is not going to be a path either team should go pursue. In a redraft league, give me Kelce over Schultz, but that's not how this works. So I don't think either side would have interest there on that standpoint. From Ben Loving, I think a deal pending with Schultz might be keeping us from signing a free agent. No, it's not. Schultz right now is counting more on the salary cap than what it would if you extended him. And the Cowboys have plenty of cap space. There's nothing right now keeping this team from spending money on free agency except the simple truth. They don't want to. It's a desire, not an ability issue right now for the Cowboys when it comes to free agency options. It's nothing to do with Schultz or the cap space. They've got plenty of both. They're just kind of like, we don't want anyone. Now, we are also on Rumble, and if you want free, uncensored videos, go follow us over there. Unlike YouTube, you can play the Rumble Cowboys Report videos in background, kind of podcast style, so you can just listen to it, which I know other people like to do, as opposed to having it pulled up on the YouTube side. Go follow us, rumble.com/CowboysTV. From Cowboys legend Tyler Klutz-Burner, Tom versus McClay versus Steven versus Jerry in a fatal four-way winner-take-all. Here's what happens. Me and Will McClay tag team and make sure Steven and Jerry are out of it. Then he and I fight to the death. Who wins? Definitely Will McClay. He is in way better shape than I am, but it's an upgrade no matter who comes out on top. Another super chat here from Carlos. Why do the Cowboys just absolutely refuse to make a big splash signing or trade of some kind? I really don't believe they want to win a Super Bowl. The Cowboys' mindset, whether it is right or wrong, which I think it's the latter there, is this. They don't want to overcommit themselves in any one year. They want to keep that window open as wide as possible and see what happens and see if they get lucky, as opposed to being a little bit more aggressive because they don't want to restructure a ton of contracts. The Saints and the Rams have been a lot more aggressive and, oh, by the way, have kept their windows open for years, just like the Cowboys have done when their quarterbacks have been healthy, because you can just keep kicking the can down the road because the money's always cheap. Eventually that bill does come due, but a $1,000 bill when you're making $10,000 as opposed to $30,000 later on feels a lot different. So Carlos, it is their mentality. I don't agree with it, but they want to be conservative as opposed to aggressive. From Stephen Bones, is this like the inverse of John Fossil and Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones? Should Dallas sign Clowney? I kind of don't think they're going to have any interest there, and frankly, I'm okay with that. Clowney would be expensive, probably around $10 million-ish, which you could do if you're the Cowboys, as we mentioned earlier. I don't really consider defensive line that massive of a need right now between DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, and Sam Williams, since he's flipped it back to going by Sam after initially asking to go by D. Now he wants to go by Sam again, so we'll respect it, of course. You got Dante Fowler, Terrell Basham, Chauncey Golston. I think you're okay at the defensive end position. I honestly wouldn't be that worried about what the team has at the current spot at defensive end. I would look maybe trench play for the interior of that defensive line, or for the offensive line at some more help there at center, potentially. Maybe even a receiver before I would go get another defensive end. So I want you to play Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, and you can be aggressive if you want to. Name a player who you want the Dallas Cowboys to go out and sign. Got to be a free agent, so it's got to be somewhat realistic from that standpoint, but drop a name for me in the comments right now. A super chat now from Austin Carey. Thank you, Austin. I think the Cowboys' defense will be a lot worse than last year. I don't think our offense got any better to make up for major defensive issues. there is this reality of life in the NFL that defense compared to offense is a lot less consistent from year to year. Oftentimes it's tied to, do you play better quarterbacks and better offenses? The Cowboys will face better offenses this year. Do I think they'll be another top 5 defense? Maybe. Are they going to collapse to 2020 versions? I don't think so. I think they will force fewer turnovers. I'm also hopeful they get off the field better on third downs to help balance that out at least a little bit. So I don't think a lot worse, but I think some regression is certainly possible. From Big Phil, if the Cowboys move on from Zeke, who will be a target at running back in the draft, assuming Catboy won't sign anyone? Anyone you want. I think looking ahead in the way too early version, next year's running back class looks really appealing. The big names, Bijan Robinson, Jamari Gibbs, Texas, Alabama, respectively. Zach Charbonnet is a good football player. There's a lot of good backs next year. My hope is this, that the Cowboys learn their lesson when it comes to paying running backs and drafting backs high. Namely, don't do it at a high level. Don't spend a first-round pick on a back. Spend a third-round pick every year on a running back or a fourth-round pick every year on a back, and you'll find some good football players, just like you did with Tony Pollard. If you want to be a part of these mailbags, actually kind of simple, subscribe and tune in to our weekly live shows on Thursdays. If you're watching somewhere other than YouTube, the link is right there at the bottom of the screen. It's youtube.com/CowboysTV. It's a great question from Todd Jordan. Who will have more yards this season? Michael Gallup or Jalen Tolbert? I mean, you guys can vote MG or JT in the comments. Had Gallup been healthy, it would have been easily Gallup. Tolbert, much like Gallup did in his first year, might require some adjustment time. But because I think it's going to be a 6-game, waiting period, somewhere in that range. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's more, whatever it ends up being there. I'm going to go with Tolbert in the end. From Elijah Garcia, Julio Jones rumor. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I know that the speculation has been, what about Julio to the Cowboys? Probably not going to be. He was shopping that one time and was wearing Cowboys gear and then got dealt to the Titans in the end. I don't anticipate Julio coming to Dallas. I wouldn't mind another receiver, but I'm not going to get my hopes up there. From Mikel, Anthony Barr and maybe a Will Fuller pickup. We'll help complete the roster. I'd be so down. Will Fuller brings something this Cowboys team doesn't really have right now, and that is deep-end top speed. They've got some fast guys, but no burner in the same way that Will Fuller would bring. Anthony Barr, I mentioned him earlier, totally down for that. He would be a nice addition as at least a depth piece at linebacker. From Chris Snow, when is Jerry stepping down and retiring? We need new leadership. This is the ultimate, be careful what you wish for. Because when Jerry fully steps down, guess who it is? It's Stephen Jones. And I am unconvinced that's going to be a better outcome in the end. I am worried about Stephen Jones, who already runs a lot of the Cowboys organization as the true decider in the end, which is the title still given to Jerry. So who wins a title first? C for the Cowboys or M for the Mavs? The Mavericks are still alive in the NBA playoffs, and they've got, I think, one of, if not the outright best players in the NBA in Luka Doncic. So I think I might go the Mavs. I want to hear from you. C for the Cowboys, M for the Mavericks. From Provokin, who do you think are going to be our sack and touchdown leaders? Touchdowns will probably end up being Zeke, since he's the goal line back still. Sack leader? Take your pick between Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence. Either one of those are fantastic ideas. From Bloodshots 54, do you think the mayor will create a second Dallas team? NFL team? No. Frankly, I think it's pretty dumb of the Dallas mayor to run on a platform that is anti-Cowboys. I don't want to get too far into politics, but I think that's a bad political move. You're going to do it? Reset the meter. A second team in Dallas is stupid. It has been 0 days since our last nonsense. You're going to put a second team in South Dallas? Okay, sure. You think the Joneses would ever sign off on that? Hell no. You think that the NFL's like, yes, a second team in South Dallas. That's exactly what we're aiming for. No, they're not. It's a very weird political move by the mayor. I don't really understand the rationale behind it in terms of like success, because LA, they don't have fans at their games. New York has 2 teams in New Jersey. It doesn't actually make any sense to me whatsoever. Now, if you agree or disagree with any of those takes there, feel free to let me know on Twitter. My DMs are open at WhatGoingDowney.